Blessed are the eyes that see what you see. For I tell you, many kings and prophets have desired to see what you see, and have not seen it. To hear what you hear, and have not heard it. I thank you, Father, for hiding these things from the learned and the wise, and revealing them to the innocent and the simple.
In eastern Tennessee's Great Smoky Mountains National Park, the only place you can now see a rusty-patched bumblebee is inside this drawer, part of the park's nature collection.
These two boxes here.
Entomologist Becky Nichols.
We haven't seen them here in the park since 2001.
Not a single one?
No.
Rusty-patched bumblebees, important pollinators for tomatoes, nest underground. Over the last 20 years, the species has suffered a 90% decline in population and habitat, a range that once included 28 states and stretched into the upper Midwest and Northeast. They face many threats.
Loss of habitat, pesticides, diseases, all of these things contribute to the overall decline of pollinators.
Bumblebees, honeybees, butterflies, in all, about 40% of so-called invertebrate pollinator species now face extinction. About 75% of the world's food supply depends at least partly on what they do.
1 in every 3rd bite of food is pollinated by bees. A huge factor is the bumblebee itself. A lot of our food is dependent upon these bees. If that's not important, I don't know what is.
We have the will and capability to fully respond to any war which the U.S. wants. If the businessmen turned U.S. authorities think that they can frighten us, they will soon recognize that their method will not work.
The statement comes from the country's foreign ministry and was read out on state-run TV. The statement also said that the world would soon witness the results of a recent jet engine test as part of its missile program. During his trip to South Korea and Japan last week, Tillerson said the U.S. was considering a wider range of options in dealing with the DPRK, including the use of military force.
Today in Westminster, we saw tragic events unfold, and our thoughts are with those who lost loved ones, those who are injured, and all those affected by this attack.
The man who left this trail of carnage in the heart of London was Khalid Masood. 52 years old and British-born, he was shot by police during yesterday's attack. Overnight, officers raided properties linked to Masood, who had a petty criminal record, but was not currently under investigation for any links to violent extremism. Nonetheless, ISIS claimed today that he was a soldier of the Islamic State. He was also a terrorist who stabbed policeman Keith Palmer to death and murdered Aisha Fraid, a teacher and mother of 2, with his car, along with American Kurt Cochran from Utah, who was in London with his wife Melissa for their wedding anniversary. She was injured yesterday and is still in the hospital. The injured came from 11 countries, among them French high school students, South Korean tourists, and a Romanian architect, Andreea Cristea. In this security camera video, as the car barrels along the sidewalk, she tumbles off the bridge into the icy river. In Parliament, politicians observed a minute of silence and then heard a tough-minded message from Prime Minister Theresa May.
We are not afraid, and our resolve will never waver in the face of terrorism.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has called on Europe to respect human rights and democracy. Wednesday's remarks come amid escalating tensions that saw Turkey blast Germany and the Netherlands over the decision to bar its officials from campaigning ahead of an April referendum, which could extend Erdogan's powers. In a press conference in Ankara, Erdogan warned that Europeans across the world would not be able to walk safely on the street if they maintained their current attitude. On Monday, German Chancellor Angela Merkel called on Turkey to stop Nazi comparisons and said her government has the right to block future appearances by Turkish officials if they didn't comply with German law.
US troops now participating in military exercises with their Romanian counterparts, while French and British troops deploy to Estonia. It's all part of a new NATO pivot towards the eastern flank, hoping to integrate forces as a means to counter Russian aggression.
We're showing some of our air defense capabilities. We're integrating with different units and just simulating a beach assault.
They're absolutely amazing, and it's great to get knowledge on their amount of skills that we don't have.
But any response from NATO could be stalled by a new dispute between two powerful NATO allies, with Turkey accusing the German government of behaving like Nazis towards some Turkish citizens in Germany.
The purpose of the Turkish swipes is to objectify, break every taboo with no regard to the suffering of those who were persecuted and murdered under Nazism.
Another complication, Russia's announcement on Monday of a new military base in northern Syria, in territory controlled by US-backed Kurdish forces, who Turkey views as an enemy. The move could drive a wedge between Turkey and the West at a time when the Trump administration is seeking unity in the fight against ISIS.
North Korea's Kim Jong-un has finally exhausted the patience that allowed the psychopathic regime to play its twisted, inhumane games since Kim Jong-un was declared supreme leader in 2011. North Korea's $7.5 billion military budget compared to the United States' annual budget of $580 billion is laughable. Still, that isn't stopping Kim Jong-un from threatening to fire an intercontinental nuclear missile on the United States. Japan Times writes, North Korea heralded the successful development of a new high-thrust engine during a visit to the country's rocket test site by leader Kim Jong-un, the reclusive nation's state media said Sunday. Earlier this month, Pyongyang issued an unusually overt threat to Washington and Tokyo, firing off a simultaneous barrage of 4 missiles as part of exercises that it said were training for strikes on U.S. military bases in Japan. There has been growing speculation that the North will conduct an ICBM test after Kim used a New Year's Day address to claim that Pyongyang was in the final stages of developing a long-range missile capable of hitting New York and Washington. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson spoke with South Korean leaders over the weekend.
First of all, I'd like to welcome you on your first visit to Korea since assuming office. In the short time since President Trump's inauguration, I have had 2 telephone conversations with President Trump, and Secretary of Defense Mattis has already visited Korea. And now, Mr. Secretary, you are here. I believe this is testament to the importance of the ROK-US alliance and the close partnership that we enjoy.
Thank you, Minister Han, for your warm welcome. I first visited your valiant country as a 21-year-old lieutenant many years ago, and it's good to be back. I appreciate you hosting me and sharing your assessment of the situation we face today. The United States stands by its commitments, and we stand with our ally, the South Korean people. Our alliance is a testament to mutual commitment and respect, and it is a linchpin of peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific region.
The Trump administration has prioritized the North Korean threats, and a consensus amongst the international community is quickly being sought.
North Korea must fully comply with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions. He assured me that the United States will always with Japan 100%. And to demonstrate his determination as well as commitment, he is now here with me at this joint press conference. President Trump and I myself completely share the view that we are going to promote further collaboration between the 2 nations, and also we are going to further reinforce our alliance.